Sorry, everybody. This is Nick calling me. Yeah, I just realized that when I saw you calling, I was like, oh, I must be muted. Yeah. Okay. All right. Thanks, Nick. Yeah. So yeah, and I see the comments from everybody. My bad, everybody. I wasn't paying attention. Like I said, I should have took the time. Or what I was saying while I was muted was welcome to another episode of You Left Shit Out. But I want to start with the intro video here. And so let's begin with the intro video, and then I'll tell you what I was saying before uh before I realized I was on mute. So let's listen to this intro video. I think it kind of matches, and I'll explain what I mean when I say that. Here we go.
Is it authentic about all of Black America or just a segment of Black America? I mean, my concern is that white kids that are buying this stuff, a lot of the music reinforces negative stereotypes, that Blacks are violent, that they disrespect women, that they kill each other, that they use bad language, and that's supposed to be the Black reality. Well, does that concern you?
That's just a result that we don't have a lot of media outlets, because the white community is way more violent than the Black community on a bigger level. You talk on black violence, look at Bosnia and Herzegovina. It's not a black face nowhere in there except in the UN. But and white people disrespect their women on a bigger level than Black people ever could do. It's a white man that says, well, a woman only makes 71 cents when I make $1. That's nothing Black got to do with that right there. So the kids today are really not concerned on really white people endorsing who we are. We're not concerned about that in 93. And I think that we really need to refocus as a community and could care less who looks bad upon us, because it doesn't make a difference. White people have really never helped our situation. Matter of fact, they was founders in putting us in this situation. So their endorsement shouldn't matter in 1993.
So you don't care what they think?
Not at all.
What do you think the appeal of the music is to the 70% of the market that is white that buys it?
The appeal is the reality of it. Everybody likes the truth. The truth is good for your brain. And in a society that feeds you so many lies, which doesn't help you grow as an individual at all, this is uncut, raw truth. Why do people watch Cops? Because they can see the truth. They don't want to see reenactments no more, when this is showing you the real deal. And that's what the rappers are providing for the people, the real deal.
So welcome to another episode of You Left Shit Out. I'm your host, Compton J. So let me tell you what I was saying. So when I thought I was speaking, I did start the show a little late. And what I was saying was, the reason I started late, because I was trying to get my girls out of the house, and that's my wife and two girls that stay here. I was trying to get them out of the house before the stream, and that was a little hard. So that's what I was explaining, why I was starting a little bit late and why I wasn't really set up and I didn't have the video ready and all that stuff. That's what I was saying. So, but thankfully Nick was calling me, and that's how I knew, because if anybody's calling me during the stream, that's when I know something's up with the stream that I'm not realizing is going on. So I immediately knew that I was on mute when he did that. But then I looked up at then I switched screens and saw all the comments. So thank you, all of you that were trying to get my attention. Thank you for all of you trying to do that. But now I think I'm back in my zone. It just threw me off a little bit, because typically I have a few minutes to sit at the table, at the desk, I should say, before I start. But I literally sat down and clicked the button and shouldn't have done it. So now let's get started. We already have 250 people here. Let's make sure we have about 200 likes. I'll do a chat check, a like check, and then we're going to get into the topic. And where is that graphic? And I'm gonna let me show you the graphic. Here. So Kyle's audience rips him a new one over AOC. So Nick and I covered secular talk, Kyle Kulinski show. The segment he did about AOC being confronted by what he described as a quote unquote anti-left Tulsi fan. All type of like insults is laced in that title that he has. So we should have knew what the video was going to be about. But anyway, we covered it last stream. Was it yesterday, Nick? Yeah, maybe it was yesterday. We covered it, and I didn't notice until today the comments. So I went to start read the comments, not on our video, but his video. And I mean, it was people that liked him, but the ratio was not close. Maybe every 10, there might have been 3. Let's be generous. Let's say 3. Let's round up. There, out of 3 out of every 10 may have been positive. And the positivity wasn't that he had a point about being anti-war. The point was he was right about Tulsi. So not even his audience that like him is addressing the point that was made in the protests. But like I said, so 7 out of 10 weren't good. And I just went through the top comments. I didn't go through all the comments. I just went top to bottom. So we're going to show some of those tweets. I'm sorry, some of those comments. And we're also going to go on Twitter so we can see, because I posted some of those and have some of you who I hope some of you who are in the chat right now watching this is also made comments on the tweet thread, because it's pretty long. It's a lot. It's at least 100 comments in the tweet thread, and maybe I should show it. Let me see if I can bring. Oh yeah, I'll just bring this video down and go to it, and then I'll go to a chat check really quick. Would that be under media if I did it? I think it would be under media. Yeah. So here, I want to go to the beginning. So let's go. I think it's yes, this one. So this is where we will start. But first, let's get to a chat check. Let's just see, what is everybody saying in the chat about this pending story before we get into it. But then also, let me just give you a heads up. There are some other stories going to be covering. Pregnant UPS worker commits suicide at the Worldport Air hub in Louisville, Kentucky. And then another story, a 15-year-old shooter in camouflage kills, I'm reading headlines, kills 5 in Raleigh, North Carolina. And then capitalism, a capitalist story. Actually, maybe all of these could be related to it, but this one more directly. Kroger announces purchase of Albertsons for $25 billion in deal to make grocery super chain. So those are just some other stories we're going to be covering during this stream, but maybe we should start with the main story. But let me see how the comments go, and then I guess we can decide there which story we will start with. Because I typically like to get warmed up, but if everybody's ready for the main story, I guess we can start with the main story. Here's a comment from Rick. Rick is a regular, watches us all the time. I appreciate the love, sir. People are waking up to the grift. Glad to see it. Absolutely. Kyle is AOC. I'm not sure what that is. I'm going to take it as a joke. I don't, that's not on top, so I'll continue. Kyle misinterpreted the phrase follow the money. And Tulsi greater than AOC, though that's not saying much. Oh, wow. That is not saying much. Let's continue. Here we go. Everything Jose, and Jose is the second activist in the infamous video that has gone viral. I'm sure it's well over 6 million views. Yeah, it has to be over 6 or 7 million. Everything Jose said applies just as much as Kyle as AOC. Kyle has become what he sought to eliminate: money talks. And just comrade. I love it when CJ calls out the Wonder Bread left. Thank you, Brenda. A long time. I haven't seen you in a while. Oh, actually, no, last week. But before that, I hadn't seen you in a while. But we all have sort of different. This is not even by design or like some sort of plan, but all of us on here on RBN sort of have a sort of a niche that when we come together, we form a Voltron. But me by myself, I'm just the left leg, or JB by himself is just the right leg, and Sabby just by herself, she's the head. And you get what I'm saying? Like, so together. So I feel like maybe my job is to point out these hypocrisies. That is, these contradictions is a better way, I guess you can say. These contradictions with trying anybody on the left trying to support the Democratic establishment or the ruling class or the status quo. So yeah. And then, like Nick is police state, foreign policy. JB do like the more emotionally taxing stories, like the one he did today on just another murder of another young Black youth. So we all kind of focus on a different thing, and then Sabby kind of she does multiple things, but talks about media. She kind of has not only a focus on media, but there is a focus there on media. And then Rome is just the man of the people in the street. So we all kind of have a little difference of a role, and it's not by design. It's just luckily it's not a lot of overlapping. They seem to be quarreling. Are they quarreling? And so fill me in, because I don't know. When you say quarreling, you don't mean personal. You obviously mean like some difference of opinion politically. I wonder how that plays out when you work with the person you're with. Tulsi is far from perfect, but she calls out the military-industrial complex. She does at times, but if to my recollection, I don't follow Tulsi enough. I don't know her because I don't take her that serious to know that much. But from what I remember, I'm sure she supports this war or has made some sort of statement in support of it, either weapons or something like that. I can't remember. Kyle Kulinski is the second biggest sellout behind Cenk and Anna. I was hate watching Kyle for the past couple of years, but now it's not even worth that. Let's continue. I mean, like, was watching Kyle's show in the past. I wasn't a guest on his show. Again, like I didn't. So a lot of people in this community may refer to, oh, I came up watching Cenk, and I came up a different way. I came up the Tom Hartman route. So he was the person that kind of I was listening to first, and what was her name? Randy Rose. That was like progressive Democrats, but that's who my ear first began, even before Bernie. So I came up a different pipeline. I didn't come through the TYT, Jank, Jimmy Dore. I didn't know any of these people at all, not until 2 years ago. So yeah, no, I don't. So where was that comment? But I guess I can keep going here. Kyle is too much of a soya boy to accept a debate with RBN. Maybe I don't know if he is, but our debater is Nick. Yeah, I'm not really. I don't feel I am really a debater. Like your videos, yeah, everything is deleted. I linked your video in the comments, and I think it got deleted. Not by me. I didn't delete anything. I don't think any RBN member would delete anything unless it was something wrong with it. So I quit Kyle a year ago, and I also heard through Jimmy that he's losing, or stream, not through Jimmy directly, but a stream like he's losing, or a live stream. I don't know if it's in a video. He's been losing followers or subscribers or something like that. Kyle using Tulsi Gabbard to deflect from the main issue. Such a deflection. This is why Nick and I agree that that's one thing I wish Jose, and that's something we did forget to mention while he was here. That was one thing we wish he didn't do, was mention Tulsi Gabbard, because they wouldn't have anything else to grab onto but this deaf thing, and that fell apart right away when people figured out it was actually an email, not an actual deaf person that Jose and the other activists were screaming or shouting over. They received an email from a deaf constituent. So she was trying to play that role too. Just disgusting to use it in that way. I'm not going to put that up about his show. Brenda again. I'm good, Omar. Oh, you're talking to, oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were talking about Ilhan Omar. I thought you were going to make a reference to that Omar. So I think we can get into it now. We're at 400 people watching. Let me do a like check and a couple of more announcements. Actually, I'm supposed to do here. I don't know why this video would be limited. So YouTube has limited this video. I don't know, something in the title. But we're at 215 likes with 410 people watching. That's almost 200 more people. So could we bump that to 300 likes? 300 likes, that might get us to 450 people. Get a lot of people in this. I hope they're in this chat. I hope there's some Kyle subscribers that think he has a point and would like to express that. No name calling in the chats here at RBN, and I don't think that really happens because we're here about policy. So, but we're here. You will be. Don't be afraid to speak up, is what I'm basically getting at, because we want to have this discussion about this. So let's. I feel like maybe I should play a little bit of the video. So let's start with some of the comments, and then we'll play a little bit of the video. So again, we're at 215 likes. So like this stream. Let's push to 300, pretty please. Also, where is it? A week from yesterday and today, or this weekend, we have the Activist Summit. So the Activist Summit, October 22nd and 23rd, as of right now. We may have to add it Friday the 21st, but right now we don't have it added. What is another thing we have to shout out here? If you are not a... Where did it go? If you are not a subscriber... Let me change this up 1 second, people. Not that one. This one. If you are not a subscriber, please subscribe. 23,361 people. And join our mailing list so that you get notifications of streams like this. If you're watching this on replay right now, you're like, man, if I would have known I was home on this Sunday and I could have watched this stream live and been a part of the conversation, join our Substack and you will get notifications of streams like this and the ones like the one that Nick did yesterday also that was unannounced. Because on Friday, he was like, nah, I don't think I'm going to stream. And then he ended up streaming. I think that's what happened. All right, so that's all of the sort of the logistics before we get into the topic. So now let's get into the topic by first. Let's start with some of the comments, and then we'll play some of the video just to refresh some of our memory, because we should all remember, kind of what. If you haven't seen the video, go check out the video. So let's begin the segment. Kyle's audience destroys him in the comments of this video, and that's the image of the thumbnail of the video. If you're looking for it to try to find it quickly, it's a picture of 3 pictures of AOC. And here's the tweet. Kyle Kulinski's own audience. Let me make sure that's showing correctly. Yes. I could actually do this, maybe make it bigger. All right, there we go. So let's read again. Kyle Kulinski's own audience is eating him alive for playing Captain Save a Politician for AOC. Tulsi's name is mentioned once, but 95% of Kyle's video is about Tulsi. His audience wasn't having it. Now, I did correct myself because I did say mentioned once when it's actually mentioned twice. The first activist says it first, and then Jose says it the second time. So I did correct that. But let's go through part of the stream and see some of your comments. But here's one of the comments that we started with. We're getting there. Thank you. Shout out to Jimmy Dore, because I believe he retweeted it, and that kind of got us over 400. Approaching 800 likes. 107 retweets. This is the comment. Jesus, Kyle, I've lost all respect for you. You rush to protect these liars. You have to go granular on the protesters and Tulsi, but let the squad get away. And that's from Rudy Harper, a comment from his own video. Let me see here. And let's scroll down a little more and see what the next one is. Let's actually see who retweeted this. So tons of people, not tons, but lots of a different spectrum of people is where I was trying to get at. Tweeted this from left to conservative. So that's good. And like I said, shout out Jimmy Dore for retweeting this to really bring this home. And that's kind of like when I decided, maybe I should do this because people are talking about it. People asked me to put the video on, so I added the video to the thread. But let's continue with the next sort of comment. Man, I wish that could be bigger. Maybe if I leave it this way, it looks like it's bigger, or maybe the same size. All right, so let's bring it up again. So I'll read it. His audience calls him Joy and Reed. Wow. His audience asked him to address the main point of the protest, not Tulsi, and that's what the caption is. Now let's actually read the comment. This one from Francisco. Damn, Kyle sounds like Joy Reid. So disappointing. Next one. This one from Tim T. Why is Kyle talking about Tulsi? ? AOC's voting record is what is being discussed. Address what he said about AOC. Tulsi isn't even in office. Now, let's pause here just to kind of wrap our heads around these two comments right here. Damn, Kyle sounds like Joy Reid. So disappointing. Is it disappointing to him, though? Is that actually his whole goal? Is to sound like Joy Reid so that he can get an MSNBC contract? Like, is that the point? And also, if that's not the point, what does that say? Like, do they go, wow, a lot of people got this reaction and they're leftist, or do he just say, oh, those are Jimmy Dore people? You see the tribalism? You see how tribalism allows you to kind of push away logical, substantial critiques? Oh, that person, just like they're trying to do with this person, with the Jose, and they're saying he was a Trump supporter. They're saying a whole bunch of stuff of him as if that changes the critique. Like, does that change what he said? If it does, it does. But if it doesn't, it doesn't. And that will be the question I would ask Kyle. I get what you're saying about Tulsi. I get what you're saying about him. Let's just grant Kyle all of what he's saying. Grant it to him. He says Jose pointing out Tulsi, Jose and the other supporter pointing out Tulsi makes him a fan. Okay, grant him that. Them being Tulsi supporters and then turning around critiquing AOC makes them quote unquote anti war. Okay, grant them that. Now, how does any of that change the critique about AOC? You see how none of it changes the critique? You can't say there's a different lens. Now, in the video, give him credit, he does softly critique. Now, Nick and I laugh during this moment. I'll put this back up. Nick and I laugh when we covered the video, when he was doing this very soft critique. We was like, wow, it was a stretch to even call it a critique. But he was like, yeah, she could have done more. Like, no, what he said was, after the first re-up, I think was something like of that phrasing or to that effect. That's where I would have kind of pulled up, and I wouldn't have kept going funding it. That was the critique. That was as far as his critique went. But ask yourself, why is that? Now, let's say the person said, let's say Jose said everything he said, but let's say the target was Marjorie Taylor Greene. Now, let's forget what she said about war. Let's say she supports it. Let's just say she was the one in her district given a speech, or Tom Cotton, whoever is an actual conservative that supports it. Mitch McConnell. Let's say he was in his hometown having a speech and he's heckled by Jose. Same thing happens. Would Kyle be making content to say quote unquote anti-war Mitch McConnell fan? Or would he just say Mitch McConnell got heckled by an anti-war protester? That's the question. That's the tribalism. That's the blue-red game. You're playing the game without saying you're part of the Democratic Party. What does that do? Like what Bernie Sanders is doing. I don't call Bernie Sanders an independent. Bernie Sanders is a Democrat. What does that do? What does the independent do? What has he done that's independent? I just covered a video where he's out stumping for them, talking about democracy is an apparel and naming all the bad stuff that happened that the Democrats is doing. So let me toss up some comments before I get to the next one, because I already had 200 comments here. Let's see. CJ, have you reached out to Kyle for discussion or debate, because it seems like him and Crystal are terrified? I haven't. I believe Sabby. Sabby is the, like, when it's time to reach across and sort of talk to reformists. She is that sort of our sort of person that would be doing that. So if any time, for example, like David Sirota, he was the one that reached out to him to see if we can get him on. She is like the professional one that does that type of thing. But of course, come on, Brenda. But the thing is, if he came on, we would treat him with respect. Like you saw Jackson come on, and I felt like we treated him with respect. Now, granted, when he came on, I didn't quite understand the socialist patriotism thing, so I was giving him the benefit of the doubt. But then I read about it. Now I know about it. Now I know it's just nonsense. But I'm saying that to say, we would respect you. We're not going to bring you on the show to cuss you out. Like, that's ridiculous. We feel firm in our intellect about the policy and what should happen, that we don't have to do that. Like, that's for a person that doesn't have they don't have the points to stand on. Then you start arguing all this other stuff. We have the policy and the argument to stand on. So, yeah, we would not do anything like that. And Nick would probably be the one, if he were to ever come on. Nick and Sabby, if she wanted to. I don't want to, but I know Nick would be the guy, because he would want to talk to him about the segment he did on defund the police. That was lazy reporting, because he gave some sort of percentage of approval for defund the police, and Nick has debunked that. So, but anyway, yeah, absolutely, we would be respectful. Kyle is from New Rochester, New York. Is that me? Should I, like, if I'm from that area, by you saying that, would that make me understand something? So tell me what that is, because I don't know if I said New Rochelle. Now, I've seen that in a movie, so I'm gonna guess. Does that mean that the person is uppity? Is that what that means? Because I've seen that. Is it a movie, or did I see it? I think I heard it on Seinfeld. Maybe I saw it on Seinfeld. But anyway, I'm getting off topic. Oh Lord, we have people debating about Dore. Jimmy Dore is just a lightning rod. Wherever we're at, people are just ready to, because he's just somebody that emotionally affects so many people that it triggers. And like, you can't say the word Jimmy Dore, like, not even talking about Jimmy Dore, like, you're just naming, like, hey, there's podcasters on YouTube like Cal Kulinski, and you just name him in a list. And that just erupts something in the comments. It's crazy. So let's read this super chat. Thank you for the super chat. And the most infuriating thing is the duopoly game of naming who's the progressive left, meanwhile ignoring actual leftists, because both GOP, I'm sorry, not Gap, both GOP and Dems know a real leftist like Socialist MMA would destroy Crystal. That is absolutely correct. Like, they're not gonna, come on. And they know what the story they're trying to craft. And thank you for the super chat. They know the type of story they're trying to craft for their audience. Plus, if they bring on somebody to their left, what is that going to make them appear like to their own audience? So just keep that in mind. Right. It should have that separation. And that's for anything. Like, you should be able to say two different people. Yeah, I don't like Jimmy. RBN speaks nice of Jimmy, but I like RBN regardless of that. The thing they speak about Jimmy, I disagree with, but I'm fine with everything else. Like, we have to have that ability. Otherwise, there's no ability to coalition build. Think of how that strategically. So it's just, yeah. So anyway, we're getting off on a tangent. But love the comments. This is what I like. I like the I like the conversation part of the streams. So I like it when it's a lot of people here to speak, or a lot of people willing to speak up. And it seems like today's Sunday, maybe because you're not at work, you're at home watching this and you're able to actually sit and type. But there's a lot of comments. So keep the conversation going. But I am going to get back to the story so that we're not here all night. RBN does have a meeting after this, so I want to make sure I get to that. So let's close this one. Now, I didn't give an analysis of the first, so let me go back to this and just kind of give an analysis here too. I lost all respect for you. You rushed to protect these liars. You have to go granio on the protesters and Tulsi, but let the squad get away. And the word Jesus is like, it's like I lost, and this is like a person who actually he may have lost. This could be an actual person who, hey man, I liked you, but like you're getting like on the ridiculous side now. Like, really, this is like, you're really doing this, man? Like, this is not even about Tulsi. What about the other part? So this could be that person for him. So I'm just wondering, do people go, yeah, maybe I should rethink that perspective on there. So let's continue down to this one here. If this stream does not get Kyle an anchor job on MSNBC, nothing will. Wow. So the other person said Joyanne Reed, and now we have a second person mentioning like he's auditioning for MSNBC. He's doing a Sam Cedar, right? AOC needs a new publicist, and maybe then RBN will like her. I know, and I see the laughter. So I know your meaning is funny, sarcastically. But let's act as if a person actually believes this. So let's answer it in that way. We don't want somebody who is changing images, and that is why she has such a low approval. Now, if you watch Nick's stream yesterday, Saturday, he covered this. She has a terrible approval rating. How do you have a terrible approval rating if all of the left likes you? Because if all of the left like you, you would at least be in the 60s. You would at least be in the 50s. You're in the 30s? Like, no. So yeah, let me get back to the comment. But what does that say about Kyle and this comment had 59 likes, and that's by Eric Jones. Like, bro, you are sounding like a corporate talking head. You're sounding like a corporate talk, because what do corporate talking heads do? They obfuscate, they talk about, they don't talk about the issue. They talk about everything else. So this is his own comments. Let's continue. Let's go to this one here. I'll slight, because this is a more people. Actually, let's make it this way, and then I'll make it bigger. It's more words, so it's smaller. So let me make this larger to read, and then I'll scroll up. Is this it? No, the next one. All right, I think that could be better, and I could also maybe do this to make it better. Yeah, let's do this. 5 minutes into the video, and he's still babbling about Tulsi. They were protesting the U.S. funding of a proxy war in Ukraine that is making all-out nuclear war a greater possibility. Also ignoring all the provocations for why Russia invaded. Mild Kulinski is not left-wing, and that's a play on Kyle Kulinski. So Mild Kulinski is not left-wing. And that's a comment from Michael Baxter. But that's a spot-on comment, because that's exactly, I mean, a lot of these comments are making sort of the same point, but in a different way, of how you're missing the whole point. Who does that? You know what I mean? Like, who does that where 95% of the point is A, but then you focus your whole thing on B, when that's 5% of what happened. But that's essentially what this stream was. And I am going to play a little bit of it. But before I do that, let me just toss up some comments here. Trolls have to change their underwear. Yeah, that hall was pretty empty. Was it a 1,000 a folding chair event? It wasn't. And that's just another thing. Like, wow, remember when AOC was like the shit? That shit would be overflowing with people like me and you. But it was literally empty because the left has left her. Those were liberals, and liberals are not coming out for her. They like her, but they see she's moving towards them, and so they're going to start liking her more and more, but they're not quite let me go out and watch her yet. They're not there yet. Mild Kulinski. Yeah, that's what he was referring to. Good turnout today, guys. 550 people. Oh, wow. I thought you were talking about I thought you were making a sarcastic comment about AOC's turnout. But yes, we're at 550 people right now. So like the video if you're watching right now, since somebody in the comments mentioned it, I'll go ahead and bring it up and I'll take it off now. All right, so let's get back to it. Let me see actually here. We're at 405 likes. Thank you for that. I asked for 400 and you delivered. So nothing more I can ask. Let's continue with the next comment. We're going to get to the video in just a moment. Can I go this way with the next comment? Yeah, I think I can. Yeah, I can. Let's see. Actually, let's see some of your comments. Let's read some of your comments instead of passing it, because there are more comments from his stream. It's below these comments, so I'll get to those. But let me read some of your comments. Nick said these people are so transparent, and he's referring to Kyle. Let's make this slightly bigger. And then we have Snow Himbo. And the Snow Himbo says Kyle Kulinski is the Dane Cook of leftism. Funny. That deserves a retweet. So I didn't see that before I got started. Oh, and you got some replies. Let's hit show replies here. Oh, just showing a laugh. That is hilarious. So let's continue. This is from Abby Brickler. I quit paying attention to him a while ago, and I'm glad I did. I knew he was full of it when he turned on Jimmy Dore. He'd rather impress TYT and other liberals. She continues, those activists made amazing points, and all AOC or Ocasio-Cortez did was tone police them. That's what you do. You argue process. When you don't have an argument, when you don't have the facts, you argue process. Get in the line, buddy. Deaf person. You argue process. So, where was I? Let's go back. Here from, this is General Strike. Everyone has been trying to make it out about Tulsi or the protesters and everything they've ever done, said, or believed ever in life, rather than the main subject. They do it because they are incapable of addressing the concerns of the activists, period. That is a great, great comment. 41 likes. That was already retweeted. And this one from Bike Toy Wood. Exactly. And now these PMCs, these professional managerial class people like Kyle, are smearing Tulsi. Virtue hoarders bookwarns every activist that their virtue signaling will get in the way of the quest for social justice and for lasting peace. And then that's where I corrected myself. And here's Colin, friend of the show. Even Crystal Ball and Sagar had a better take on this than Kyle Kulinski. And maybe that's the reference earlier. Somebody said they've been hearing them argue more. Maybe that's what they're disagreeing sort of on this. And then that's our flyer. I shouted it out in the thread. But now let's go to some more comments, and then we're gonna play the video in just a second. Let's read this comment first. So this one, what did AOC say in response? She said, get in line, wait your turn. She was not going to address that. You talked over a deaf person. Being rude. You're so rude. That's what protesters are supposed to be. I would have been more interested in that than the person, I think that's a typo, than in getting nonstop think directions from Kyle, or thought directions, if you want to refer to it in that sense. That is a great point. Here's how you think. Here's how you should think right here. And at this point, you should be thinking this. Let's go to, one more here. Actually, it's larger when I do it this way. So let's do it here. So here's one. Kyle must have a nuclear bunker somewhere. Like he's overlooking the main part, which is the nuclear war part. And that is from Rohan Markland. And this is from Rick Larson. Oh, it's cut off. I'm sorry. Looks like military industrial complex has gotten Kyle fooled into the old defense of and it's cut off. So sorry about that. And here's a picture here. Somebody posted. They said real leftists on here and fake leftists here. All right, so let's go and play a brief part of the video so you just get the gist of why people are kind of like on him about it, because he's basically just on Tulsi and not the substance. And he really chimes in the beginning, but then when they get to where Jose's part, he kind of stays quiet. Maybe I'll start it there. Let me see if this first clip gets to that point. I think it does. So I'll start it right around, and I'm gonna go back to the beginning, but I'm gonna start it here for now, to make this point. So let's listen. Oh, 1 second here. It's been sitting prepped. So let's see if it plays now. Okay, now it plays. Sorry.
Cortez was doing an event, a Q&A event, and it looks like it's probably from her district in New York, although I'm not 100% sure. But this video is going viral on Twitter because she got confronted by anti-war protesters. Now, they don't put anti-war in air quotes. I'm going to put anti-war in air quotes. So let's break it down. Let's see what's fair, what's unfair, and all that stuff. And we'll try to see who's right, what makes the most sense, etc. Let's do it.
Congresswoman, none of this matters unless there's a nuclear war, which you voted to send arms and weapons to Ukraine. Tulsi Gabbard, she's left the Democratic Party because there are a bunch of war hawks, okay? You originally voted, you ran as...
Let me pause it already, because this guy saying Tulsi Gabbard left the Democratic Party because they are war hawks. That is not the only reason she left the Democratic Party. That was one of 5, 6, 7 different reasons.
Think about this. The point of using the person Tulsi Gabbard is to say this person left, and she said the Democrats being war hawks was one of the reasons. He doesn't mention the other reasons. But the point is, she is just a point. She is the receipt to the larger point. So what is the meaning of coming in at this point and saying there's other reasons she left, because the other reason she's left is not in dispute? So what is the reason for this, Kyle? What is the reason for interjecting this point? But that's what the point that is belabored here. Because he needs to make the point, and this is probably why people were saying he's shooting for that MSNBC job. He needs to make the point that AOC bad because she just went to the Democrats. You understand? He has to signal to the people, to the class, to the group he wants to be a part of. Because right now he's just at the kids' table. So he has to do a red flag even if they bring up the word Tulsi. Tulsi, she did this to the Democrats, so we need to do this. Because it's completely irrelevant to have to bring up why the other reason she left when this is one of the reasons she left. And if she left for this being one of the reasons, why can't you, who are a real leftist, who claim to be a real leftist, leave for this reason only? Let's listen to more of this point, that this immaterial point, this irrelevant point.
Why she left, and most of the reasons why she left were actually right-wing criticisms. Stuff like, oh, they don't care about religious freedom. They don't care about the rule of law. So if his point is to say she left because of these other things, because she's a right winger, not because of anti-war, okay. So why isn't your point? What are you talking about, Jose and other protester? Tulsi should be over there just right next to AOC, and y'all should be protesting her too, because she's not solid on being an anti-war, being against a war herself. That should be the take. Is that Tulsi should be just as criticized as AOC. But you see who is he signaling to for this? Who is he talking to tell his audience there's other reasons she left? Anyway,
I've seen this a bunch of times, and I'm still triggered by it to have to bring these points up. But let's continue.
Stuff that honestly is garbage. And if you don't take my word for that, go and watch my full breakdown of Tulsi's announcement that she's leaving the Democratic Party. Now, since that happened,
should she not leave the Democratic Party? That's the question. Forget the reasons. Should she not leave the Democratic Party? You see how they are defending staying with the Democratic Party? The Democratic Party is not producing anything for progressives. Anything. And they are actively fighting with dark money to keep progressives out. But we want to defend the Democratic Party like this. Make that make sense to me. Or make that make sense to you. That makes no sense. The point should be like, she left for some dumbass reasons, some right wing reasons. But I'm leaving for these good reasons over here. But to zero in on her critiques are from the right, and that's why she left, and you don't understand that is a I'm trying to get extra credit from the Democratic establishment and all of their surrounding sort of infrastructure of media. Let's continue with a little more of the video. I've played 1 minute and 42 seconds. Maybe I'll play it to like 3 or 4 minutes, and then because I can't do any more of this.
we get this in the Hill. Gabbard to stump for Trump-aligned New Hampshire Senate candidate. There's some people who think.
So let me rewind if you didn't catch the point he made here. So he thinks he's pulling up a receipt. It's like he's pulling up a receipt at Target, but his receipt is from Walmart. What is the purpose in this receipt here?
That she's leaving the Democratic Party. Now, since that happened, we get this in the Hill. Gabbard to stump for Trump-aligned New Hampshire Senate candidate. There's some people who think, hey, Tulsi's leaving the Democratic Party and she's going to, whatever, like join the Green Party or join some other left-wing third party, and that's why she's doing it, because she's...
Who thinks that? Who thinks that? I don't know anybody, really, literally, I don't know anybody other than it mentioned in this video stream of his that thinks that she's going left now. Nobody thinks that.
She's so principled and she's still criticizing Democrats from their left. That's not true. That's not true. Tulsi has for about a year now been, most of the criticism she has of the Democrats are actually from their right, not from their left. Like when she said about Build Back Better, that, it's big government spending and the government's already too big. That's a right-wing criticism. There is no other interpretation of that. That's just what that is. And a lot of the stuff in Build Back Better was stuff that Tulsi had previously supported. Stuff like universal pre-K and elder care, negotiating for lower prescription.
You see how we're not talking about AOC and her war record? Now, whether they're being paid, whether they knowingly or unknowingly are doing it, but this is what the old left media sphere, the white reformist media sphere that has been in place for a while. Hang on a second. Hearing a buzzing in my ear here. Let me move the video.
Stuff like universal pre-K and elder care, negotiating for lower prescription drug prices, Medicare expansion. So for her to say that's big government.
Okay. I think the buzzing is gone. Sorry. Yeah. So the point that I'll make. Anyway, I forgot the point that I was making. Some buzzing was going on. I could hear Kyle talk, but some buzzing is in my ear. But anyway, let's continue with the video.
So I don't like it. That's a right-wing criticism. For her to say Democrats don't care about religious freedom, religious liberty, that's a right-wing criticism. I don't know why.
Oh, what I was saying is, you see how we're not talking about AOC's record? And then I was going on to say, either knowingly or unknowingly, directly or indirectly, they are doing the work of the Democratic establishment, going out and providing cover for the people who they want the narrative to reflect as being left. Let me see if I can make that simpler. So the narrative has to be the squad is the most left. Bernie Sanders is the most left. Anybody left of them are crazy. So the people who are real left, who's raining these criticisms on these fake elected leaders who claim to be left, they have to come in and sort of shield against that, protecting these people who have to be seen as left. And that's what Kyle is doing, either knowingly or unknowingly. That is what he's doing. He's effectively being sort of like a stormtrooper for the Democratic establishment, knowingly or not. So let's continue.
Why you would seize on the one thing, which was nominally a left criticism, which is, the Democratic Party are war hawks. But then she also immediately stumps for Republicans. That party is also full of war hawks. In fact, it is worse. Trump had a worse foreign policy.
Than who? Than nuclear war? What foreign policy? Can anybody who knows any foreign policy that's worse than nuclear war put that in the comments, please? Because I've never heard of this. Because that's obviously the point he's making. Because if you don't know, the Democrats are in office, 3 of the 4 branches ran by Democrats. So, and we're at the brink, or as close to nuclear problems, with two nuclear countries, 2 nuclear powers is what I was looking for. When has what policy that Trump did brought us to that? So let's listen if he answers that here.
Then Joe Biden does. And to stump for a Trump-aligned candidate, I mean, okay, this guy supports Trump. What did Trump do? 432% increase in drone strikes. Ripped up the Iran deal. Tried to do a coup in Venezuela.
So Jose, I don't know if Jose supports Trump or did in the past, but let's just go with it. So he obviously found something. Maybe he tweeted about Trump. So he supports Trump, and Trump, you claim, and you're against anti-war. So he's basically saying, I'm thinking the point is, you don't have standing, Jose, to critique AOC because you support other people who support war. So you don't have standing. So I'm not even going to address your points effectively because you don't have standing here. Look who you support, Trump. That is what he's trying to get his audience to do. Let's listen to a little more and then to the comments, and then we'll move to the next segment here.
Bombed Syria, occupied part of Syria, and was stealing their oil. So Walker Bragman breaks this down. Gabbard's guy, Army General Don Baldock, doesn't think Medicare negotiating drug prices is a good thing. In fact, we covered this story recently. He was on Fox.
Why are we talking about this story? Kyle, what the fuck are you talking about? Walker who? Breaks what? This is some MSNBC work. Now you see why the comment. Have you ever been watching, like, expecting them to be talking about, hey, this is the top story, and they're talking about something else? You're like, why the fuck are we talking about this? That's what we're doing. He is acting like he is pulling receipts out the yin yang about a point that's not even being made. You're attacking the messenger, but the message is correct. But he's saying because the messenger is wrong, he's turning the messenger around. Turn back around. Keep your message, buddy. You don't have standing to come here. And that's what they do. They go out and dig up. So let's see who this person is. What for? What for? If he stood up and said, if Jose was stood up and said, hey, protester, shut up. AOC's doing the best she can. She's the best we got in there. She's doing all this stuff. Would they be looking up his background if he said that? If Jose stood up to defend AOC against the first protester, would they be looking up his background? Would they be? And the thing is, this guy is young. He was like 17 in 2018 or something like that. He said 2019. He was like 17 years old. So you feel like you won because you pulled up some records from a 17-year-old who is still developing his politics. And I believe Jose is still, even now, still developing his politics. Like, it's such a weak point. It shows that you feel you have a weak stance.
On Fox News saying, I can't wait to roll that back. So he actively wants higher drug prices. Tulsi's stumping for him. And wants to end the direct election of senators.
Take this out of the context, AOC. If you just was listening to this and didn't know what this was about, you would think this is a video coming from somebody who's a Democrat who's out to get Tulsi, who just left the Democratic Party. Why is Kyle choosing to do this? As if he personally takes offense that she left the Democratic Party. Maybe he does feel personally offended.
He opposes legal abortion, has promoted Trump's big lie, and suggested that COVID jabs are installing microchips for Bill Gates. Well, that's nice. That's glorious. Really cool stuff. All right, let's run this back a little bit.
Nuclear war, which you voted to send arms.
Do you see what he just did? It's a propaganda tactic. Now, you see all the emotion he just threw into the story that has nothing to do with the story, but it gives you disdain. So now you're gonna view this a different way. He threw in Trump and January 6th and the big lie. He threw in all this stuff that has nothing to do with the critique, but it soils the people talking. So you go, you could have a point, but because who you are, fuck that shit. It's a propaganda tactic. You go, this Black Lives Matter protester, yeah, he knows Ray Ray. And Ray Ray, he grew up And yeah, he grew up. His uncle shot somebody. He was a gang member. He was gay. He sold drugs. Yeah, he killed all kind of people. You see, none of that has to do. But you see how it inject sort of subconsciously thinking, emotion that doesn't belong there, but it's there. He's placing it there intentionally so that you're going to be on his side. But his audience is more intelligent than he thought, because a lot of them wasn't buying that bullshit. Wasn't buying it at all. Let's listen to when it gets to Jose. But you notice when it gets to Jose, he starts to talk less. And I'm going to fast forward it a little bit here. When Jose brings up the war part points, listen to what he says. Nick and I made this point in another stream, but let's listen. Was it because I moved it? Let's see. I think it's because I moved it. Let's see. Try another spot. All right, then I'll just refresh. Anyway, I'll go forward. I'll just place it forward. It should be fine now. I'll place it forward here. Around here when he starts to talk. Okay.
Why is it a bad thing to give them defensive weapons? Now, look, I've told you.
Okay, we got to hear this nonsense right here. Okay, I guess we got to listen to the whole thing because he says some crazy shit right here.
COVID jabs are installing microchips for Bill Gates. Well, that's nice. That's glorious. Really cool stuff. All right, let's run this back a little bit.
Nuclear war, which you voted to send arms and weapons to Ukraine. Tulsi Gabbard, she's left the Democratic Party because they're a bunch of war hawks. Okay? You originally voted, you ran as an outsider. Yet you've been voting to start this war in Ukraine.
What?
You're voting to start a thermonuclear war with Russia and China.
That is massively overstated. Who invaded who? Who invaded who? Russia invaded Ukraine.
Now, this is where the absence of what happened in 2014 should be inserted. Like, this is where you should be talking about NATO, and NATO's encirclement of Russia with weapons. This is where a leftist should be inserting that. Not who started this. That's such an infantile understanding of things or projection of things. Here we go.
The U.S. didn't invade Ukraine. The U.S. didn't invade Russia. Ukraine didn't invade Russia. Russia invaded Ukraine. So in the wake...
Like, this is so bizarre because he's arguing points that's not made in the video. He's arguing points that's not made. So let's listen.
Wake of Russia invading Ukraine, why is it a bad thing to give them defensive weapons? Now, look, I've told you guys this. After the first 2 or 3 packages, I would have started to wrap it up a little bit.
This is his critique of AOC. After the first 2 or 3 this is an anti-war. After the first 2 or 3 packages, I would have started to wrap it up. The expression. The expression is such a intentionally soft criticism. Begin to wrap it up. Like, he can't even say stop.
You know, at this point, we've had over a dozen packages sent to Ukraine, and it's been somewhere between $50 billion and $80 billion worth of weapons sent to Ukraine. Yeah, I agree that's overkill. And yeah, I agree that's probably because, the politicians are enriching the military-industrial complex. That's probably the thing that they care about first and foremost. So I don't deny that it's overkill, but to say that this means you want a nuclear war. What kind of bullshit is that? If the United States sent weapons to Palestinians to defend,
This is just a terrible fucking analogy right here. I can't listen to this shit no more. Can't listen to this shit. This is just a fucking terrible analogy that he uses with them. Let's see if we can get to what Jose talking. Good Lord, this guy's
but now
terrible.
all of a sudden,
This guy's fucking terrible.
You can go back and check the Secular Talk YouTube library, but this criticism just doesn't make any sense.
Oh, God.
Why are you playing with the lives of American citizens? You're playing.
Now, Jose's about to jump up, and you'll notice now, up until this point, you saw how quickly he was stopping shit, bringing out fucking useless receipts, right? Watch how he lets a lot of what Jose's saying play with nothing to say. Watch.
Playing with our lives. There will be no neighbors if there's a nuclear bomb. You voted to mobilize and send money to Ukrainian Nazis. You're a coward. You're a.
You hear the laughter? You voted to send Ukrainian Nazis. Understand, when the professional managerial class are defending these people, they're defending themselves. The critique he's giving is a critique on Kyle. Is a critique on a lot of other professional managerial class. So the funding Nazis. What did we say in the stream? Because we talked about this, Nick and I. I don't remember, but it was a great point. Let me see if I remember the point. I'm going to back it up 7 seconds here.
You can go back and check the Secular Talk YouTube
shut
library, but this criticism just doesn't make any sense.
Why are you playing with the lives of American citizens? You're playing with our lives. There will be no neighbors if there's a nuclear bomb. You voted to mobilize and send money to Ukrainian Nazis. You're a coward. You're a progressive socialist. Where are you against the war mobilization? He's telling the right truth.
This is unbelievable. Who invaded who?
You hear all the fucking points that he hit, that Jose hit, and his response is, who invaded who? That's his response. Because let me explain why that response is problematic and it's such an infantile response. Because are you not going to acknowledge U.S. and NATO turning the Ukraine into a vessel state, sending all these weapons into Ukraine? Are we not saying that? Like, are we not acknowledging how U.S. and NATO have instigated this? Are we not going to talk about that? Are we not going to talk about the people in the Donbass that was being shelled since 2014? The ethnic Russians there? We're not going to talk about that, Kyle? You're just going to say, who invaded who?
Who invaded who? Russia invaded Ukraine. Russia did the imperialist action.
I'm done. I can't listen to this guy no more. So let's move to the next point. I can't listen to this. Appearing to be extremely low intellect politically here. I can't intentionally, because he knows this stuff. So let's go to this comment. It's perfect. So I added 2 more comments to the video. So let's go to this, but let me go to the second one first because it speaks to what he just said here. Actually, let's keep it here. It's a little bit bigger right here. So I love how Kyle's okay with small percentage of Nazis. Because he makes that reference. Oh, it's just a small percentage, or it's a small amount. So this is a comment from Kyle's YouTube from this video. And then let's go to the second comment here. Why is this focus more on Tulsi and hardly about AOC's action? Even if Tulsi is a grifter and it does not change it does not change the accusations thrown at AOC. That was Sadie or Sade, I believe. And then the first comment was OBX. So that it's not fooling anybody. He's not fooling anybody. And a lot of these comments, let me see if it showed here. 28 likes for that one. This one is cut off. I can't see it unless I click on it. Oh, 75 for this one. 75 likes for that one. Let's go to this other comment here. What did AOC say in response? I would have been more interested in that than... Oh, I think I read that one. Yeah, I read that one because that's where the misspelling is. And I believe that is the last comment. But look at this here. We're up to 91 comments now for this. Now, obviously, I can't read all 98 comments, but Kyle is getting all of this, and AOC and Tulsi Gabbard was tagged on this. Now, let's see if there's any other comments, good comments that I have not covered yet. I want to try to get to some I've retweeted. Let's see. Sorry, there is a lot of comments here. All right, so that one I did retweet, but it's just a picture. Here's one. Sad it took. Oh, here is Fiorella. And maybe we'll end on Fiorella's comment and then move to this next story, which is a tragedy. But let me read this comment. Sad it took that long, but better late than never. And she's referring to sad it took this long for Rudy Harper to come to the realization of leaving Kyle, or just the realization of his audience. Maybe that's what Fiorella is referring to. But I think that's a good comment to end on. Go watch his video, or go to the comments and read some of the comments yourself and screenshot them and put them in this thread. I'll retweet it. Screenshot some other comments talking about how this was a terrible take, and I'll try to make sure I see all of them. And as long as you put them in this same thread, if you follow us on Twitter, I'll go ahead and retweet that. Let's see here. Not that one. Believe it or not, it was hard to find information on the story about a pregnant UPS employee commits suicide. There's not a lot of mainstream news or places that's covering that. I'm trying to see where I'm at. Okay, so I'm here. So I'll put this article here. And so this will be the next item that we cover. So that is this will be the next segment that we cover. But before we do that, I do want to toss up your comments, because a lot of your comments may still be on this subject that we're going away. So I want to get those in before we sort of switch and begin to comment on this next story. I can't believe they limited this video. I don't know why though. We're at 552 likes. That is awesome. Could we push to 600? Push to 600. Short break before the next segment. Push to 600 likes, please. And if you're here and you're not part of our Substack, but you want to be a part of our Substack, or if you want to get notifications of when we do streams like this, like the one Nick did yesterday, which both were surprise streams, unannounced streams, join our Substack and you will be notified. Like today, I think I sent a notification 45 minutes beforehand. So if you're watching this on replay and you wish, I wish I saw this notification, I would have watched this live, join our Substack and you will get notifications for streams like this. Like this stream. Let's get to 600 likes. The activist summit is next weekend, a week from this weekend. Now let's toss up your comments before we move to the next story. As you can see, the article already up for the next story, but let me just make sure I get enough comments from the last story up. Thank you, RBN or Go RBN, killing it. Hello, Emily. Door is my best estimation of truth. 1% or less of the U.S. population even knows who Kyle is. That is correct, but let me show you sort of the ripple effect. So, just so for example, MSNBC, why attack MSNBC when MSNBC gets not even 3 million viewers, literally, when we got 340 plus million people? It's because it's 3 million people watch MSNBC, but those 3 million people, it's not even 3 million, I'm just rounding up. Those 3 million people have nieces, nephews, daughters, sons to talk to them. So it's disseminated through those people in the same way that Kyle, that TYT is a small percentage of people that is, they're a small percentage. But Kyle has what, 975,000 people who subscribe to him? I think the video that with AOC is approaching 90,000. It was at like 86, 87,000. So those 87,000 people go then have friends. You see how it just spreads. So that's the ripple effect. Absolutely. But you're right. Very small percentage. I think Kulinski is still the only real word to call him. Okay, so you guys are getting into jokes now. All right, so let's now move to the actual next story, and that is a 15-year-old shooter and camouflage kills 5 in Raleigh, North Carolina. I believe I have a video. Yes. So let's first kind of start with a video to give us a backdrop or a foundation of information. And all of you or most of you have already heard about the news, but we just wanted to cover it to make sure it's covered from telling the whole story and not just part of the story. I don't know how corporate media is covering it, but this article, for example, is from World Socialist website. But let's listen to this short clip. That news clip is about 2 minutes.
School student and a 29-year-old off-duty police officer. The other victims, all women, range in age from 34 to 52. The Thursday afternoon shootings began an hours-long manhunt. We have a lot of news to get to tonight, and CBS's Elise Preston is going to start us off from Raleigh. Good evening, Elise.
Nora, the Wake County District Attorney, is expected to charge that 15-year-old suspect as an adult.
She told me she was gone. I said, all right, be safe.
You told her be safe.
But Thursday was anything but safe for Tracy Howard's wife, Nicole Connors, who left their quiet Raleigh neighborhood to celebrate her friend's 60th birthday. When Howard returned home, he found them both.
Sorry, let me restart that. All right, so now we'll start the segment here for when I cut it. So 15-year-old kills 5 in Raleigh, North Carolina, and let's listen to the clip.
School student and a 29-year-old off-duty police officer. The other victims, all women, range in age from 34 to 52. The Thursday afternoon shootings began an hours-long manhunt. We have a lot of news to get to tonight, and CBS's Elise Preston is going to start us off from Raleigh. Good evening, Elise.
Nora, the Wake County District Attorney, is expected to charge that 15-year-old suspect as an adult.
She told me she was gone. I said, all right, be safe.
You told her be safe.
But Thursday was anything but safe for Tracy Howard's wife, Nicole Connors, who left their quiet Raleigh neighborhood to celebrate her friend's 60th birthday. When Howard returned home, he found them both shot and bleeding, his wife and their dog lifeless on their front porch.
I froze. I didn't know what to do. You know, could have tried to perform CPR or something, but I just froze. So I called 911.
Connors is one of 5 victims killed in yesterday's shooting. Her friend Marcille Gardner was critically injured in the rampage.
I saw someone walking down Osprey Cove right here with a gun.
What kind of clothing is he wearing?
He's wearing all camo. He looks like he's like 16.
Just after 5 p.m., police found 2 people shot in the street and then discovered more victims along a tree-lined walking trail.
There are several families in our community waking up this morning without their loved ones.
Officers eventually contained the alleged 15-year-old gunman in a house 2 miles away. He was taken into custody in critical condition from an apparent self-inflicted gunshot wound. His older brother, 16-year-old James Thompson, is among the dead, along with 34-year-old Mary Marshall, off-duty Raleigh police officer Gabriel Torres, and Susan Karnitz, a mother of 3.
No child, no grandparent, no one should feel this fear in their communities.
Now, police have not named the suspect and a motive is not known. This is the nation's 25th mass murder this year.
Yeah, so that kind of gives you foundation. But there is another clip that's also kind of short. I think it's shorter than this one that I also want to show you because it gives more detail that I want to start out with here. Where is it here? That's 1. Okay. That's 2. Hard to hear that story. Sorry. So, let me listen to this. All right. No, I think that's good. I don't think I have to play another one because I don't know if I want to play another one. All right. So now let's go back to the story. So now let's read about what's happening with this story. 15-year-old shooter in camouflage kills 5 in Raleigh, North Carolina. That is the headline. This is from the World Socialist website. It's written by Kevin Reed 2 days ago. So a 15-year-old gunman shot 7 people, killing 5 of them in the early evening of Thursday in a residential neighborhood of the state capital city of Raleigh, North Carolina. And this is a picture. The caption reads, "Neighbors embrace as police remain on the scene at Castle Pine Drive in Sahali Way following a mass shooting Thursday night in Raleigh, North Carolina on Friday, October 14th. Authorities said the crime scene stretched over 2 miles as the shooter gunned down victims in their yard and on a trail that winds through wetlands and Pine Grove in the Hedingham neighborhood on the northeast side of the city. CNN reported that a handgun and a long gun were recovered from the scene and that the suspect wore camouflage and carried a camouflage backpack based on information from someone with knowledge of the investigation. A witness named Robert Anderson appeared on NBC Today show on Friday morning and said he saw the gunman from his back deck. Quote, he had a camouflage shirt, camouflage pants, black boots, and he also had a backpack that looked like it was filled to the brim. Anderson added, quote, he was walking around, and when I tell you he was walking, it was like nothing had happened. He was just walking, looking straight forward. He had his gun on his side, and it was pointed downward, and he was just walking, end quote. The shooting began at approximately 5 p.m. and after 4 911 calls were made, a manhunt ensued. according to Riley Mayor Mary Ann Baldwin, who spoke at a press conference by 8 p.m., the suspect was contained inside a residence, and at 9:40 p.m., he was apprehended. Although officials have not released the identity of the shooter, the teenager has been identified by the News and Observer of Riley as Austin Thomas, a sophomore at Nightdale High School, and the brother of one of the shooting victims. Thomas was taken to Wake Med Hospital and is in critical condition with unspecified injuries. I'm going to stop there. I'm going to skip to just to read the victims out of their respect, and then go into how this article talks about what's happening here. Because this article isn't just a fact base. It talks about, it examines what this phenomenon is and what it's saying largely. So let's read. Where's the victims go here? Here. The 5 victims killed have been identified as off-duty Riley police officer Gabriel Torres, 29, Nicole Connors, 52, Sue Carnaz, 49, Mary Marshall, 35, and James Roger Thompson, 16. That's the brother. A police officer was injured and has been released from hospital. Another victim shot was Marcel Lynn Gartner, 59, who is in critical condition, according to Riley Police Chief Estelle D. Patterson. So now let's scroll down, because it just gives more evidence here, more discussion here. But let's start here. According to the Gun Violence Archive, there have been 533 mass shootings in the U.S. in 2022. Wow. 533 mass shootings. That's just incredible. Let's take that off. Let's continue. A map of the location of the mass shooting defined as shooting with a minimum of 4 victims shot, either injured or killed, not including the shooter, shows that they have occurred in most major metropolitan areas of the U.S. and in more than 2/3 of the states. The American political establishment has no explanation or solution for this staggering reality, because it cannot acknowledge the underlying social causes in the inequities and violence of the capitalist system. That is such a very important point. So I'm going to read this part again, but this is such an important point. Let's make this, made it larger and it did something when I did that. So my apologies. Let's go back. All right. So now let's read. The American political establishment has no explanation or solution for this staggering reality, because it cannot acknowledge the underlying social causes and the inequities and violence of the capitalist system. And I'm reading it again because I want to start here and discuss. Because they never, just like what they cannot acknowledge the underlying problem, which is all the social problems due to all the inequities in capitalism. So what do they talk about? Oh, gun violence. Look, y'all are against gun rights, gun this. We need gun laws. Gun laws just put, if this whole situation was a boiling pot of water, gun laws just put a lid on it. It doesn't stop the water from boiling. Because they have to avoid talking about it, because then you have to objectively and critique capitalism. So you have to make it these other things. You have to, and now it is mental conditions in some case, but even those who are mentally ill who could do these things is also connected to capitalism because they can't get the help because of capitalism. And also, we're going to get to another story where a pregnant UPS employee commits suicide, and it was mental health problem, and she asked for help from UPS several times and did get nothing. So it still speaks to capitalism, but this is the reason why it continues. It continues, and the reason why our government cannot address it, because in order to address it, you have to address capitalism. So what do they make it out to be? We just need sensible gun laws. We just need background checks. How many of these shootings where the person had a gun legally? Refusing to address the actual issue. Let me go to your comments here. Universal health care is needed. If only we had a state-funded force of social workers paid to protect the public. Being sarcastic. Right. This is why we need Medicare for all. A lot of you make that point. Yes, I am being. This is a lot of Captain Obvious. And there's a person called Captain Obvious, and that's who Robert is referring to. There's an actual person named Captain Obvious in the comments. But let's continue. I thought that was a very, very important point to stop and pause and point out that point. So let's get back to the article, and I'll be bringing this segment to an end and getting to the pregnant employee, UPS employee, in just a moment here. That's the next segment that's coming up. In a society in which police kill more than 1,000 people per year, and an unending war abroad have resulted in decades of death and destruction that have become normalized by the corporate media, the epidemic of mass shootings finds fertile ground. This is combined with glorification and promotion of right-wing and fascistic, I always have a problem saying that, ideology and groups by substantial factions of Republican Party that is aimed at the destruction of the basic democratic rights of the working class. Meanwhile, the Democratic Party fears the rising struggles of the working class more than it does the emergence of fascism in the U.S. and advances a gun control agenda which will not stop the carnage. So great points made in this article. Make sure you go check it out. Let me see if I read this last part here. The New York Times reported that the Democratic governor of North Carolina, Roy Cooper, said on Friday, quote, "It was already clear that elected officials needed to do more to address the scour of gun violence," end quote. President Biden also released a statement on Friday declaring, quote, "Enough," end quote, and quote again, "We must pass an assault weapons ban," never addressing the issue ever. There's another receipt here I'm going to bring to you. So let me do that. Let me change this up here just a bit and get you this other receipt, because I believe I have the mayor speaking. 1 second. I wasn't talking to you. I was talking to my wife. She walked into the room. All right. So maybe I thought I saw the video, or maybe I didn't save the video. Here's another headline from NPR, though. I thought, oops, I'm not even showing you that. Let's pull it up. Hang on a second, everybody. This tweet I'm going to put in the screen that you're watching. I forgot I hadn't done that yet. So here's a tweet, NPR. Just another headline I wanted to show you of the same story. And I am going to search and see if I can pull up the video from the mayor of the shooting. I watched it. I thought I saved it, but I didn't. So a 50-year-old carried out the mass shooting in Raleigh, North Carolina that killed 5 people and is now in critical condition, officials said. It was the 532nd mass shooting in the U.S. so far this year. And then it's attached to an article. If you like NPR, you can go check that out. But let's type in 15-year-old shooting North Carolina mayor. Let's see if I can bring you that here. If I can't, we'll just move to the next story. And it looks like maybe I can't. But she was just giving a little more emotion to the story, and I wanted. But I feel like even the previous story made the point. Because I never like to just read a story about shootings, because the videos allow the emotion to come through. And I think I did that. So I will end the story here and move to pregnant employee. Where is it? Oh yeah, this is the one where I don't have a video. So this is the one where there is just going to be an article, because I searched and searched trying to find content or video news content on this story, and was unable to do so. So we'll just cover the story from the article. But let me toss up your comments from the old story, the previous story, just in case there's a couple of more comments that came in before this new story starts. 12 years in public schools just to learn to constantly question authority, already knew. Is the drug problem self-medication or the cause of it being unstable? I should have tried that. You're right. I should have tried that. When the U.S. does something, we damn sure are going to be the best at it. That's a sarcastic comment. All right. So I think now we can get to this story. This one is another story about capitalism, just as the last. I'm bringing it down just a little bit. Pregnant UPS employee commits suicide at Worldport Air Hub in Louisville, Kentucky. This is written by Patrick Smith a few days ago. Tragic story. And we just covered another story about BP at a BP refinery where 2 brothers were killed in a fire. And the union is raising money, and I was like, why isn't PB paying for all of the expenses? Why are they having to raise money? Just disgusting. So let's read. A UPS worker fell to her death on Wednesday, October 5th, at the company's massive Worldport and Air Hub in Louisville, Kentucky. The incident was ruled a suicide by Louisville Metro Police, according to a short article by WLKY, a local TV station. Several employees who contacted the station informed them that it happened shortly before 11 p.m. WLKY said they had reached out to the company, but they declined to release any Details. According to a Facebook post, the woman who was pregnant and had problems at home jumped from a 3-story balcony. Multiple employees were trying to talk her down. The post indicated she was fired for sleeping on the job. Pregnant. UPS company policy says that someone must be escorted from the building if they are terminated. She asked if she could go to the bathroom and collect herself. She was allowed to, after which she jumped from the balcony. So, if this post is correct, the story I'm getting is she was fired from sleeping on the job. She's pregnant. She's obviously emotional, maybe crying because she was just fired. Her only way of making money. She's pregnant. She's having problems at home. And they fire her. That's why they didn't release any details. Let's continue to read. UPS spokesman Jim Mayer said, quote, "We worked with authorities last night to investigate an incident at Worldport, but refused to share any more information with local stations." Why would they refuse to give information? Because she was fired. Because the firing is what precipitated this. Because maybe she had problems, but she decided to go jump after she was fired. She had problems the day before that, and the day before that, and the day before that. So that's why they're not wanting to say nothing. So the pandemic-induced online shopping boom had been a windfall for UPS. Gross revenues rose to nearly $72 billion, and its U.S. workforce had increased to 396,000, making UPS one of the nation's largest employers. Since the pandemic began, their profits have risen by 37%, according to Micro Trends. A UPS loader said on Facebook, quote, "My heart is broken for this young woman's family and friends, all because UPS swept her mental health under the rug when she asked for help multiple times," multiple in bold letters for those listening, period. They didn't even stop production in that building during the cleanup. Do better, please, end quote. So according to this UPS loader, they didn't even stop production. She jumps, kills herself, and keep packaging that shit up, motherfucker. You tell me that doesn't sound like slavery. Like when you're on the plantation. Like we're taking your wife back there to go to rape her, or like I'm the person who is being raped, taken to the back. Take your ass back out there after the rape and go pick cotton, bitch. Or seeing your wife come out, obviously just been raped. Bitch, get back to fucking working on the fucking field. Don't worry about her. Understand today's American capitalism, what they're shooting for, what the gold standard is. The United States slave trade, the Atlantic slave trade. That's the gold standard for capitalism. But this is terrible. Let me check out some of your comments here. Why? Thank you, Maria. I think this is the first time because Maria Nova. It's a name I would remember. Reminiscent of Amazon worker death, this is the freedom and democracy that our dystopian state pushes. Absolutely, Robert. Great point. Neoliberalism is neo-slavery. Capitalism. CJ, 100%. This story is sick. I really hope if the UPS workers do go on strike like they've been talking about, that this adds fuel to the dumpster fire of a company that is UPS. Absolutely. Let me finish part of the story here. Another worker says this. So one worker said, quote, "So while we are working, supervisors came and pushed out mental health pamphlets to reach out to counselors. That was always offered, but not advertised like this until that happened. And they did not explain why they were passing them out." So she kills herself. They're passing out these pamphlets and they don't say nothing. And why they were passing them out, I heard from another employee that the suicide happened. So if I rob somebody, if me and somebody else rob if we are in a act of crime, and the police kill the person with me, I could be charged for murder. But you know what? I don't know how. Yeah, I can make this point. I don't think YouTube would say anything. No, I'm not gonna make that point. All right. So yeah, I don't know about YouTube. So let's continue. Here's another worker, or the same worker continued. Quote, "What makes me so mad is that employees had to reach out to the news, not UPS. This girl was a human being." She continued, "No one knows her name either, and I understand the family might not want all details released, but the area this girl worked didn't even stop production." Oh man, this is terrible. All right, I'm gonna try to. Oh wow, this article refers to the two brothers I mentioned. I didn't get this far down into the article. I got to, I think here, the pandemic induced. So all of these comments, these are all new for me. But let me read this. Let me continue. This is another tragic example of UPS disregard for worker safety and mental health. 24-year-old UPS driver Esteban Chavez Jr. of Downey. Wow, I know a Esteban Chavez from Downey. This can't be his. How? Yeah, no, he wasn't 24. Does he have a 24? Died from heat stroke on June 26th. And I knew this story, but I'm just not remembering. There is no air conditioning in UPS delivery vehicles, which resulted in numerous serious incidents during summer heat waves across the country. The tragedy in Louisville is the latest in a series of workplace deaths. In another death with disturbing parallels, 67-year-old Thomas Tank McGuffey fell to his death from a roof at the Stellantis Sterling stamping plant in Detroit in a suspected suicide. According to co-workers, he had been under stress. Several workers had died at the plant due to COVID or industrial accidents over the past 3 years. And this is the story that I covered. Two brothers, Ben and Max Morrissey, died on September 20th in a PB Husky oil refinery. in Oregon, Ohio. They were 32 and 34 years old. The company issued a statement expressing deep sadness. PB has terrible record of workplace deaths. And I'm gonna stop there. Go and read the rest of this article if you're interested. World Socialist website. But just terrible conditions. That's what's happening in this collapsing empire. And then this is the final story of the day. Kroger announces purchase of Albertsons for $25 billion. This is a very short story that I'm going to be covering next. And I do have, I'm sorry, not this one. And I do have video for this. But just let me, actually, I'll go to super chats at the end, actually. I don't want to interrupt here and then have to go back to some more. But let's read this comment. This goes to the previous, we haven't switched topics yet. OSHA, like all good federal agencies, is being starved, underfunded, and made to be useless government organ to the detriment of the people. To the detriment of the people. That is a fantastic point. Empire is dying. The average federal penalty for workplace death is probably all of $15. Is a joke, but that's actually probably true. Capitalism version of labor is a meat grinder. All great comments here. Just a terrible story. But before we move on to this final story of Kroger buying Albertsons, please like the stream. We're at 659 likes. Can we do 40 more and get to 700? Let's try to do 40 more and get to 700. Join our Substack. If you're watching this on repeat and you're like, man, I wish I watched this on live. I was home. It's a Sunday. I was home. I could have watched this. Join our Substack and you'll get notifications of streams like this. Awesome. So also 23,361 was the subscriber count before the stream started. Let's push. We're trying to get to 30,000. So let's keep pushing. And now let's go to this final story with Kroger. And for this one, there is 2 videos, maybe 3, because I want to examine it from a couple of angles here. Of course, you're going to give the Wall Street news coverage of it, and then give a more left version from More Perfect Union. But let's start with this video here. So we're going to do it from a business perspective, and Kroger CEO Rodney McMullen actually talks in this video. So let's listen to it. Let me share it actually first. I don't think I'm sharing it yet. So I'm going to come back to the article. Let's watch the video first. Close this one. Yeah, let's watch the video first here. You close some of these windows, slowing me down. Plus, my daughters are back home, so I'm sure they are probably gaming. But Kroger announced a deal to buy rival grocery company Albertsons for $24.6 billion. Kroger CEO Rodney McMullen joins CNBC.
Deal. Both stocks are pulling back on the news. Joining me now exclusively.
So we're going to listen to this nonsense and as much as we can. Let's see.
Huge deal news today. Kroger officially buying rival grocery company Albertsons in a $24.6 billion deal. Both stocks are pulling back on the news. Joining me now exclusively from Cincinnati, Ohio, Kroger CEO Rodney McMullen. Rodney, welcome. Thank you for taking the time.
Thank you. Hi, Sarah. Great to see you again.
You too. Look, I'm wondering how long this deal has been in the works, because Albertsons announced back in February it was pursuing strategic options. How did it come together?
Yeah, if you look, it really started getting serious about, I would say, 2 months ago. And Vivek, the CEO of Albertsons, we've known each other for years and years and years. And it really was a conversation that the two of us had in terms of.
That's because both of you are a part of the ruling class. The ruling class knows each other. You know each other for years and years and years. So that's good.
There should be something here that makes sense, that ends up being good for customers, good for our associates, good for the communities, and really creating a new competitive company that really, if you think about competing against the big box supercenters and the online players, just improving that. So really, Vivek and Chan, the chair there, and Steve Feinberg is really, thinking about together, how do we create something that really helps the customer and the communities.
Well, the stock reaction I wanted to ask you about, Rodney, because your stock is down 8%. Albertsons stock is pulling back, either lack of confidence that this deal gets done or that it adds value for Kroger. What is your reaction to that reaction?
Well, if you look, short term, I always remember giving Warren Buffett credit one time about short term. It's a voting machine. Long term, it's a weighing machine. And we feel really strong over time that this is really good and creates value. And if you had a chance to listen to any of our earnings call, this increases our TSR model, our commitment of 8 to 11%. It increases it for the next 4 years. So it's a great value for our shareholders and improves cash flow as well.
What about the regulatory piece of this? Lot of concern that this will not pass muster with the antitrust authorities, combining such big, both of you have such big presences, huge employee workforces. Why do you have confidence?
I think we can stop there. They go more into the business part of it. I just wanted to set the foundation of what's actually happening here. And then we're going to get into the socialist critique of it with an article from the World Socialist website. But here is More Perfect Union just making the announcement. And they say, breaking Kroger and Albertsons. Where I live, Kroger is known as Ralph's. Or Kroger owns Ralph's. So there's no Krogers in California. Yeah, there's no Krogers in California. In California, they're Ralph's. And Food for Less is the version of Ralph's that's in the poorer neighborhoods. It's called Food for Less. It's another supermarket. So if Ralph's, and I think Ralph's owns Food for Less. But anyway, there are Albertsons here in California. Not a lot. There's not a lot of Albertsons around here anymore. So, but let me read More Perfect Union, breaking Albertsons to purchase supermarket chain, or Kroger and Albertsons supermarkets have announced a plan to merge. They're calling it a merger. It would create the second largest grocery chain in the U.S. with $210 billion in projected revenue and the biggest employer of union members in the private sector. Biggest employers of union members in the private sector. Wow. Wait a minute here. This is. Why would Forbes be saying this is a bad idea? Yeah. Anyway, I'm getting off here. Let me not go off tangent. So let me bring up the next item here. I want to bring up a tweet because I thought this tweet made a good point. So let's bring this tweet in now. Oops, sorry everybody. Let me get the right tweet. Let me get the right link here. Copy tweet, and then I can put the right link in here. All right, now. My apologies. All right, so this tweet here makes a great point, and it comes from Mo. Mo says, still wrapping my mind around the news that that supermarket behemoths Albertsons and Kroger's are planning to merge. If this deal goes through, we should all just go Amish. A thread about how private equity made food deserts, food hyperinflation, and money. So here's all the brands. Here's all the Albertsons brands. You see how it's like you're monopolizing. Safeway owns them too, so you're monopolizing. How would Albertsons swallow? How would Albertsons swallow? They're just talking. That's a news article about how they purchased them. So thought that tweet was on point. That this is just the monopolization of the market, of the industry. And then there's a tweet from Public Citizen. Let's end with this tweet, and then we're going to go to that article. To charge that. All right, so this is the final tweet we'll cover on this article, and the tweet says 75% of Kroger workers are food insecurity. Let me see if I can make this bigger for everybody to see. And then take that off and make myself down here. Okay, so there we go. 75% of Kroger workers are food insecure. Their CEO raked in over $18 million in total compensation. Now Kroger wants to merge with Albertsons, the fourth largest supermarket chain. Mergers only fatten the pockets of the rich while workers suffer. I think that's all they post. So just another on-point tweet describing what's happening. And now let's go to the article here. Oops. My bad, everybody. Let's go to the article and read here. Kroger announces purchase of Albertsons for $25 billion in deal to make grocery super chain, written by Alex Feindige. I think that's how you say it. Supermarket giant Kroger announced that purchase of rival chain Albertsons early Friday morning. Expected to be completed by 2024, the merger would combine the first and second largest grocery chain in the United States, Kroger, which owns regional chains like King Soopers, Ralph's, that's where I stay, and Fry's. Fry's is out here too. And would add another dominant regional subsidiary like Safeway, Vons. Vons are out here. Safeway's not so much, and Acme, not out here. The deal will reportedly cost Kroger nearly $25 billion using available cash and $17.4 billion in debt financing. Kroger will pay $34.10 per share, about 33 cents more than the current stock price of Albertsons. Should the deal pass regulatory approval, Kroger would expand to over 5,000 stores and 700,000 employees. In order to avoid antitrust litigation, the chain announced plan to divest from between 100 to 375 stores in a subsidiary called SpinCo. However, there is considerable overlap between Albertsons and Kroger chains, which have competed with each other for years. This may prompt Kroger to sell off or close many stores and lay off thousands of workers in order to trim costs. So this is what that tweet was sort of referring to. Mergers, because for example, who are we talking about? We're talking about Ralph's and Albertsons. So near my mom's, there is a Ralph's and Albertsons, and so what's going to happen? They'll just close one of the stores, so they can just feed and get all the revenue sent to one store. So what's going to happen? Some employees lose their jobs. So these things, it's not just like you're losing competition. You have workers losing their jobs, but the people at the top certainly increasing their money. So let's continue with the article. Cost is a primary driver for the merger. Combined, Kroger and Albertsons bring in around $209 billion in revenue. However, retailers like Walmart and Costco still outsell their grocery-focused rivals, and growing competition from Amazon has been a particular concern for grocery chains. Following Amazon's purchase of Whole Foods in 2017, the online retailer's giant quickly expanded its role into grocery markets, becoming the second largest grocery seller behind Walmart. Kroger corporate executives have argued that the merger will enable Kroger and its many subsidiary chains to streamline production. That means cutting costs. That means an effect on workers. And distribution across its 66 total distribution centers, making it more competitive. So it talks about the CEO. I want to go down further and talk about this here. And actually, hang on a second here. Here's where I wanted to go. Okay, here we go. Here is where I wanted to pick up at. Now, the merger announced should be taken as a warning to all grocery workers. The consolidation of the grocery market is based on the need of corporations and Wall Street to extract every more wealth from the working class at a lower price. Thousands of jobs may be at risk as Kroger prepares to trim the fat from its national grocery empire and further expand its already incredible $4 billion annual profit margin. If stores are closed, not only will it slash jobs, hours, and pay, it will contribute to the growth of food deserts, areas where the poor and marginalized lack access to fresh and healthy food. According to the U.S. Department of Agriculture, USDA, more than 53 million people live in areas with low access to food, as stores continue to consolidate into larger and more dispersed super centers. The number of people who struggle to reach these stores will increase. So food deserts will increase. Workers will lose jobs. The fat will be trimmed. This is all bad for workers. Kroger in particular is known for strangling out competition, including rival chains and smaller stores, establishing itself as a dominant grocery retailer. Consolidations with Albertsons will only push this further. Federal regulators will review the merger as part of the government's antitrust regulation. The Federal Trade Commission blocked a similar merger between Office Depot and Staples in 2015, despite arguments from the two chains that a merger would help lower prices and aid competition with Amazon. So I will stop there. Please go, and if you want to read the full article, go to the World Socialist website. Kroger announces purchase of Albertsons for $25 billion, written by Alex Fine-Denge. I think that's how you say it. So I will end it there, and it's just a shame. So I'm going to look for something on my Twitter while I'm talking to you here. Food that, desert, and I have a video about a food desert, and so I do want to play that as sort of a reference point. Maybe I can play it as a closing video, and that way I don't have to do another video because things are moving kind of slow. My kids, my girls who are gamers, because their mom is a gamer, are probably playing some kind of game. All right, so let me share this video. I located it. Talking about a food desert. And this will just get worse with the merger of these two giants, Kroger and Albertsons. So I'm going to play this video, but before I do, I'm going to toss up some of your comments. Because I am going to be heading out. There is a meeting we got, RBN meeting we have about the summit. So I got to get off to that. And plus, that's all of the stories for today. Some of you may have watched, if you're a regular watcher, you may have seen this video about food desert. But this is a good video, explains what it is and explains what the person who is in a food desert has to do in order to get healthy food. Before that, let me toss up some of your comments. If you want to eat fresh food every single day, you have to go to the market at least a few times a week. Yeah. I'm big on a lot of fruit, berries, especially. Like I eat a lot of strawberries, like every day. I eat a lot of strawberries, blackberries, blueberries, raspberries. So I probably go just for that at least twice a week, 3 times maybe a week. You could also buy them frozen and blend them if you have a blender and just drink them. You don't have to even add anything else. It's already cold. Just blend that and drink it. Do that. If you take medicine, you can put it in that smoothie. So anyway, yes, or if you grow food and hopefully focus on Infinity, who's Logan, who's part of the People's Network. Hopefully he'll be available for the Activist Summit because he teaches people how to grow food where they are, and he lives in Harlem, I believe. So I got to reach out to him. So yeah, I'll reach out to him and see if he's able to. But how to avoid trust busting? How have 100 different companies and claim none of them but the owner of them? Right. You see the antitrust? You remember the tweet I showed, and it showed Safeway owning all those companies. It shouldn't be that. These companies should all be their own entity, their own company that provides competition, what makes it better for us, the worker. So they get around these laws by these little, what they do, right? Here you go. And that's the response we should have, general strike. I suspect outright starvation in the U.S. may be very well pick up. I think as long as they make the argument that consumers will somehow benefit, the antitrust guys lap it up and approve the merger. Happens almost every time. That is a great point. Prices in food are going up. Another great point. Lots of great comments here. All right, so I think that's going to be it. I think I'm going to be heading out here now. Like the video, please, on your way out. Join our Substack. If you're watching this video and you wish you saw this, or you're just getting here live and you wish you were here earlier, join our Substack and you get notifications from these. Usually an hour before. Today, I think it was more like 45 minutes, 50 minutes before I started. Yeah, 50 minutes before I started. So like our stream and join our Substack on your way out. Activist Summit is next week. So a week from this weekend, from today, we will be having our Activist Summit. Make sure you join. And that's going to be it. I'm going to leave you with this video about food deserts, what it is, what it takes to go and get healthy food, how they're doing this to the worker. And here's a worker right here that's talking about it. So like the video on your way out, if you will. And share also. Sharing. Oops. Yeah, now I can take it off. Sharing also helps. So here we go.
Jaretha lives in a food desert, and I'm going to go shopping with her. By bus, the easiest grocery store to get to is Walmart, and it's 8 miles away.
This is time you could be spending with your kids. They're home right now.
you got to go to the grocery store.
Wasted time sometimes, but you know, I have to do what I have to do.
Looking at the map, it says it's going to be 48 minutes to get to the grocery store.
It's hard. We have to travel far just to get to where we're going because of us lacking, you know, a car.
And because it's so hard, many people won't make this trip. They'll go to the corner store where you can't get fresh food. But that's not what Jaretha wants for her kids.
I love to see fresh food, you know, and the smell of the tomatoes is pleasant. You know, anything fresh is pleasant, of course.
But getting fresh food is ultimately a 3-hour round trip. I'm giving her a hand today, but usually she only has 2 hands to carry everything back.
This issue of food and getting the food, how hard is that for you on your life?
It's very hard. So I go to Family Dollar or something like that, you know, where I know they have a little ground meat or whatever. I'll just have to settle, you know, but it can be frustrating.
Food desert is a term that comes from the United States Department of Agriculture. It factors in a neighborhood's income level and access to transportation, and most importantly, if you live more than a mile away from a grocery store. And we're not talking about a corner store here where fresh food options are rare. We're talking about a grocery store that does at least $2 million in business a year. And here's why all of that matters. In areas without a grocery store, the government says there's an increase in obesity and chronic diseases. To fix that problem, Dallas Council member Casey Thomas wants more grocery stores.
How many do you think you need? How many would you like to build?